Thank you very much, members of the Fourth Estate. This is a statement by the Kenyan youth against corruption and impunity at USAID, American Embassy, and foreign interest operatives. Read on Friday, the 13th April 2012. We, the youth from the coast region of Kenya, represented here today by our network's leadership, gathered to petition President Barack Obama, the US Congress, US Senate over the affairs of the American Embassy in Kenya, USAID, its local operatives, cartels operating in Kenya against national interest. We, the Kenyan coastal youth, have noted with deep and growing concern that, number one, that some 5 years ago, President Barack Obama raised the hopes of the youth in Kenya by announcing a youth empowerment program worth $3.5 billion. When the USAID and the US Embassy said the Yes Youth Can Fund in Kenya, it was hyped as a major historical US government bilateral support to Kenya. The fund was said to have been designed to help the youth initiative themselves into self-employment and out of poverty. Number two, that 5 years later, we have come to the sad realization that the project was just a usual American hype that gave us hope for a change that never was. This is a sad affair coming from a man who traces his roots among Kenyans and who used his claims on Kenya ancestry to successfully sell his presidential bid. Number three, that if the Yes Youth Can initiative money was ever got into this country at all, it seems to have all ended up at the hands of certain individuals, cartels, working in cahoot with US Embassy mandarins. These opportunists have used the US $3.5 billion to enrich themselves, buying large houses, big cars, going for holidays, and ensuring their wives and their children have better lives, even as the intended beneficiaries, the Kenyan youth, who continue to wallow in miseries of the problem that the fund has originally been envisaged to alleviate. Number four, that it has increasingly become apparent that the Kenyan youth and the general public, that the USAID and American Embassy have a cartel of organization through which they engage in their corruption, defrauding, theft of the US taxpayers' money. Top on the list of these organizations include Inuka Kenya, Clouds International, Windrow International, World Vision, and Massive Corps. These organizations purport to mobilize the youth, but their leadership as all people who do not fit in the bracket of the definition of the youth in Kenya. This flies in the face of claim the Yes Youth Can Fund is youth-owned, youth-led, and youth-managed. Number five, that we have identified Mr. John Githongo as an example of North youth by our constitutional definition, who is a major beneficiary of the Yes Youth Can Fund money intended for the youth, if at all it was. While Githongo is 47, he must squanders as a youth leader and has been useful to USAID and the US Embassy to hoodwink, misuse, and abuse the Kenyan youths. That USAID, the American Embassy, and its leadership stand accused by the Kenyan youth of having hatched and implemented a deliberate conspiracy to defraud the Kenyan taxpayers of money in the name of helping Kenyan youth, while in reality the money is instead diverted for distribution to American experts in Kenya, their friends, their cartels. In essence, the USA cartels in Kenya are successfully using the poverty among Kenya youth in justification to fleece the Kenyan taxpayers of billions of dollars. That from our simple analysis, we, the Kenyan youth, have concluded that the Yes Youth Can Fund was just part of a larger charade of modern-day American imperialism to youth hoodwinked and jobless Kenya, hopeless, frustrated Kenyan youth to sing songs that will help America manipulate the government of Kenya to cooperate in helping US spread its influence across Africa or boost President Obama's re-election chances. That while the Yes Youth Can Fund was trumpeted as a youth-led, youth-owned, and youth-managed, the faces of the people, such as one John Githongo, among others that led to the project, are not in any way youth or youthful. Inuka Kenya Trust is not a youth project. but just a conduit of cartel to siphon Americans' taxpayers' money. That we aware that the Yes Youth Can money is cleverly being moved around by USAID and US Embassy to different accounts, and the latest one is called the Tahiti Fund. The reason the money is being shuffled by US Embassy in different accounts is so that it can be laundered and used locally to bribe the youth to engage in subversive activities against the government of Kenya. Number 10, that further, we are quickly coming to the conclusion that individuals like John Githongo, who previously paraded themselves as anti-corruption champions, to us is in fact beneficiaries of corruption, theft and impunity. Careful examination of his engagement reveals that he is simply cheating abroad to get money to enrich himself, his family and his cronies. That in view of the above, considering that the United States of America is touted as a paragon of the rule of law and open governance, we find that there is apparent lack of transparency and accountability in their aid processes, and also from our experience, an attitude of impunity by USAID and American Embassy. All we see everywhere in Kenya are marks of corruption, impunity, and the theft of US public money in the name of supposedly helping Kenyans. In conclusion, we categorically state that we, the youth of Kenya, refuse to be misused and abused as pawns in international politics with the United States' ill-mass attempt to steer local politics through youth-targeted initiative. We categorically state the Yes Youth Can Fund was a false hope and did not bring any change that we can live in. We therefore wish to say thanks, but not thanks to the President Barack Obama, and warn him to keep off youth affairs and we focus on doing our own things. That we hereby petition the US President, Congress, Senate to swing into action to investigate how the USA, Kenya, American Embassy in Kenya use the Yes Youth Can money. We state categorically that there is not a single youth in Kenya who benefited from the money or whose life has changed as a result of 3.5 billion shillings. The initiative was a disaster, as it only managed to give us, the youth, an hallucination effect that enriched the USA cartels corruption in Kenya. That if the US has designs on Kenya for whatever vested interest, that the US ceases to desist from using youth empowerment as a front for its subversive attempts. That as a show of good faith in keeping with the anti-corruption gospel US government preached, and to save face amongst the Kenyan youth, the US President, the Congress, the Senate to act now to end corruption and impunity exercised by the USA from US Embassy in Kenya and its local operative. We have therefore withdrawn on corruption in USA, on the local cartels, and it's time the Washington DC took appropriate action to save the US taxpayers' money. That the Mombasa public protest against the USA, the American Embassy in Kenya, and their cartel is the first of a series of countrywide youth-owned, youth-led and youth-managed public petition to the US President Barack Obama, US Congress, US Senate to investigate who ate the 3.5 billion, and also to appeal to American people to stop wasting their taxes, fattening corruption cartels in Kenya. God bless Kenya. Thank you.
Ndio sababu tunasema waondoke pole.